Hello, Pokemon trainers, and welcome back. This time it is me and my friend Marcus. How are you doing?
Yo, what's up? And yeah, we don't want to wait you guys, or we don't want to have you guys wait any longer. The players are ready. We are ready. It's going to be Ben Kyriakou from GB against Ernest Azanza from Spain. So yeah, Pepe already waiting in the finals. What I said, he kind of like showed how to defeat that team that Arsh is using if it doesn't have access to Tapu Bulu. But now, yeah, we can yeah, tell the players that we are ready to start, I guess, and then we will get this started. So we have seen both players featured on stream. Ernest didn't get to be featured today, but yesterday in the last round of Swiss, we saw his Mimikyu and Snorlax combination.
Overcoming Fabian.
Exactly, winning in the very last round. So yeah, that is when it counted for him. He made it into the top 8 and yeah, already won his game there. And now we'll be facing off against Ben Kyriakou. So I don't know a lot about Ernest, to be honest, but it looks like he is qualified for the first day of the World Championship now.
He should be qualified by now, at least.
Very close to that.
Yep. Just to go through those teams very quick, we have Gardevoir, Incineroar, Landorus, Naganadel, Tapu Fini, and Breloom on Ben's side, and on Ernest's side we have Metagross, Dead Snorlax, Incineroar, Tapu Koko, Landorus, Variant Form, and the Mimikyu. So two very interesting teams, not too common here, especially that Naganadel Breloom combination on Ben's side, and then we have Snorlax Mimikyu as a pretty common core in the previous year, and now getting into semi-finals. Great success so far, but of course both these players want to make their way into that final stage here.
Of course, both of them making it very far here, but yeah, if you are already in the top 4, you already got the trophy secured. But yeah, it's quite a bit difference whether that trophy says semi-finalist or whether it says champion. So that is, of course, what both of these players are going for. Pepe, as we were saying, already waiting in the finals. But yeah, one of these two players will have a shot at the title soon. So just going by what the matchup could be like, it feels like Ben's team, at least based on how he played it in his top 8 game, relies a lot about like spreading and chipping everything and like playing a long game. Whereas Ernest's team, with that Snorlax, he can really like shift the pace and go like super fast, just go for Trick Room setup and then have the Snorlax boosted and just like play it really offensively.
Do you see anyway how he's overcoming that Mimikyu Snorlax combination? We see actually Ernest leading with Metagross Tapu Koko, so let's forget about Mimikyu and Snorlax for this moment.
Yep. So Breloom would, for example, be one Pokemon that Ben could try to use against that. Looks like though he's banking on his Incineroar and Gardevoir combination. Just so naturally makes sense. You have the Incineroar with Intimidate and Fake Out supporting the Gardevoir, and then you have Gardevoir just like going for either the Trick Room if you want to. Or in case of Ben's team, just yeah, throwing out some offensive moves like Hyper Voice. And here we can already a little bit like see a little bit how the two Pokemon on Ben's side add up in terms of like type synergy, as the Metagross on Ernest's side of course has a very strong matchup against Gardevoir, but Incineroar being a fire type can really take like both stab moves from Metagross super well and also like hit it back with the Flabbits for a lot of damage.
Yep. I don't think we saw Ben going for that Trick Room mode in the last set we featured him here on stream. So we don't know yet if that Trick Room is confirmed there. But he actually just decides to switch out. We saw two Intimidates coming off, but neither of them affected Metagross in any way. So Metagross still at a very high attack set here. And we see no Fake Out coming out either, so very interesting here.
So it's probably just going to be a Flabbits going into that Metagross. Ernest goes ahead and goes for a Volt Switch, doing a little bit of chip damage to that Incineroar. Now has the option to switch out. Probably he's going to bring in his Landorus if he brought that Pokemon, or maybe the Mimikyu if he brought like the Mimikyu and the Snorlax in the back. So looks like it's a big decision for Ernest already, like which Pokemon to switch in. Of course, you have quite a bit of time now to make that decision, but with a new timer, every second counts. So Ernest now selecting the Pokemon that he wants to bring in. If it is the Mimikyu, then okay, actually going for the Snorlax. So maybe he was thinking about, oh, how likely is it that there is like a knockoff coming in that slot? Because having your Snorlax knockoff, that can really be very bad for you.
Clutch survive on this side though. Sorry, I have to interrupt you.
Yep.
But that combination of Volt Switch and Stomping Tantrum barely missed the KO, activating the Figgy Berry on that Incineroar, which is now going for U-turn. So a lot of switching happening here. But very clutch, so very important for the late game.
Yeah, and it was not the Flabbits going into the Mega Metagross, so Ernest is probably happy to see that even after the Incineroar was able to take that combination of attacks, it's like it's as if he, say, protected the Metagross, so it's like not super terrible. And the Snorlax doesn't really mind taking a little bit of U-turn damage, all too much, but now Ben's Naganadel hits the field, and yeah, we've seen in the previous set that this Naganadel has a very spicy tech choice and the Inferno Overdrive, so this Mega Metagross might feel safe here, but it's actually yeah, very, very dangerous.
Yep. It's very interesting how in the first turn, I just want to recap that, a fake out Hyper Voice would be such a safe play for ban Kyriakou, but I don't feel like either of those plays felt confident in their position, so both decided for wall switch, U-turn, and a hard switch. So a lot of switching happened there. And now, I think this confirms that this lander is his choice card.
Yep, even more U-turns on Ben's side. So also going for that double U-turn combination. As we've seen in the Seniors final yesterday,
yep.
He would probably bring the Incineroar back in if I had a guess. But now this Naganadel, if he went for the Z move, this could be potentially huge. Let's see though, first of all, the Intimidate dropping on both the Snorlax and the Mega Metagross, so even if they are, if they made it through the turn, they will take a lot of damage, they won't do as much damage, but it's the Substitute instead.
Oh wow, okay, so of course being faster than Metagross Substitute is such a safe play, because if you expect your opponent to just protect, then you can punish that with a Substitute.
Yep.
We see how that Substitute just saved him from the frustration.
Yeah, Frustration won't do any damage to the Naganadel directly, but the Substitute is of course broken. So now Ben kind of has to see like, oh, does my opponent even know about my Inferno Overdrive? Or probably like this information hasn't spread all the way to Ernest. So yeah, that's now kind of a game. But that is what the first game in a best of 3 set is for, to try and like level the information field and to get on a clean field in that regard.
Yep.
So now Ben still has the option to go for that Z move right away, but now the Mega Metagross probably feels a little bit more threatened, as there's also the Incineroar on the field right now, so yeah, maybe Metagross wants to switch out and reset the Intimidate.
Yep. And of course, if you show your attack in that Inferno Overdrive, you also want to take home that game, because if you show all your
Ooh, and no Protect coming out, but the Sludge Bomb hitting the Snorlax, so not even Knockoff will be able to like remove the berry anymore, because that just activated on that Snorlax, so this could be a huge turn for Ernest actually.
Yep. So Stomping Tantrum this time is enough to pick up the KO, and if that Snorlax decides to go for Belly Drum, it will be in great position of course, but not having the berry anymore, it decides to go for Frustration, shouldn't be able to pick up the KO thanks to that Intimidate from that Incineroar early in the game. So I'm wondering, whenever Naganadel finally goes for that Inferno Overdrive to potentially pick up the KO of that Metagross,
yeah,
in comes Gardevoir.
If I had a guess, it's probably this turn, because now switching in the Gardevoir means that he has a Pokemon that really doesn't want to face the Metagross at all. And depending on which move that Naganadel has as the fire move, I don't think we have got a confirmation about that. Just hitting the Inferno Overdrive through the Protect, followed up by something like a Fire Blast, could be enough to get the knockout on the Metagross as well. So I feel like in this position you kind of are forced to go for the Z move right away, because you absolutely cannot afford to lose your Gardevoir.
Yep, but then Gardevoir with Hyper Voice, I don't think Snorlax will take too much damage out of that, and we might see Recycle coming off.
Yeah,
because
so
it's like this very reachable by his Recycle.
Yeah, so it's really important for Ben to get this turn correctly, because if Metagross protects and he attacks into the Protect, Naganadel could also go down to the Snorlax, but it looks like he got this correctly. And now let's have a look at Ernest's face here. Like, what is he thinking? Did he expect this Z move to come out? It's the Inferno Overdrive. Yeah, he keeps his composure, so he keeps it cool. So does Ben. Of course, Ben was kind of like hoping that this was happening. No Protect coming out of the Metagross, being hit by this big fireball here. And how much damage is it going to do? It is enough to get the KO. And we've seen before, this Naganadel actually will get a special attack boost from the Beast Boost.
Yep, so that might help him afterwards. We see in Hyper Voice coming up, that is a single target Hyper Voice going to that Snorlax. And Snorlax probably going for Recycle, yes. Will it eat his berry straight away, so it's full at full HP, but now a boosted Sludge Bomb from that Naganadel, and then another Side Shock, for example, will deal a lot of damage to that Snorlax. So Ben in a great spot here with his boosted Gardevoir and Naganadel, and we've seen how Metagross goes down. What else does Ernest has to offer for this game?
Yeah,
It's Tapu Koko in the back, which is like, I mean, Naganal is already down in HP, so it won't take too many hits from that Tapu Koko.
Yeah, so Tapu Koko coming in now can outpace and KO the Naganadel, and then it's very difficult for Ben to power through the Snorlax, because of course, like as we were saying before, like his team really relying on like chipping stuff with Hyper Voice and Muddy Water from Tapu Fini and the Gardevoir, but now that's not really an option because Snorlax is just so naturally bulky, and with Recycle can really restore HP over the course of a game and just keep doing that. So it looks like Ernest now finds himself in a position where he can go for an attack against the Naganadel. Even if Ben protects it as he does, Gardevoir won't be able to KO the Tapu Koko in return. So yeah, Ernest will have another shot next turn.
Yep. It also depends on what Kyriakou has to offer otherwise, but I really want to stress out how knockoff play early in the game against that Snorlax would have helped him so much, because then he would not be able to have those two recycled Wiki Berries here.
Yeah, imagine instead of going for a Sludge Bomb there on the Snorlax to activate the berry, he would have gone for the Z move against the Metagross, knocked it out, and then his Incineroar would have made it through the turn, could have knocked off the Snorlax, but yeah, he was probably expecting some sort of like Protect coming out from the Mega Metagross. But maybe Ernest just wasn't aware of how dangerous it was for his Mega Metagross in that position. Now Dazzling Gleam is coming out, should be able to pick up the KO on the Naganadel as it does, though Gardevoir will probably retaliate with a knockout on the Tapu Koko with Hyper Voice, and yeah, Snorlax might want to just go for yet another Recycle or just go for a Frustration. It is still intimidated, and now it looks like Ernest won't be able to go for like to switch it out at some point, but he just straight away goes for the Belly Drum here. Okay. So that indicates to me that his last Pokemon is probably that Mimikyu.
To set up Trick Room, that might be an option indeed. And we have to see what Ben is bringing in here. So both players sending out their Pokemon.
Oh, it's actually the Landorus. Okay.
Interesting. We saw how this Landorus is not Choice Scarf.
I'm not so sure if I like the Belly Drum play here by the Snorlax. Of course, Intimidate is now nice to reduce the damage output from the Landorus, but it looks like the Snorlax could still easily go down to a combination of attacks, say like a Psyshock and maybe a Rock Slide. At the same time, though, the movesets of these Landorus are going to be very important, because Landorus is one of those Pokemon that like kind of checkmates itself. So like it cannot like damage it with its most powerful attacks, like the ground type attacks. And so if you're Choice Lock, then like Rock Slide, it doesn't do a whole lot of damage at all. So some of these Landorus carrying Hidden Power Ice, for example, this might be something that could swing the battle into either player's favor.
Yep, so Rock Slide could help out that Gardevoir to get off more attacks if he gets any flinches here. But yeah, that Snorlax, it is really crucial to see if Snorlax makes it out of this turn to get off another Recycle, or even get off an attack. Because
yeah, I mean, getting out of an attack is just like every attack it gets off is just a KO.
That's true, yeah, after that Belly Drum. So probably just getting a KO here will be more beneficial. But we see Snorlax going for that Protect, actually.
Yeah, that could definitely help him. But as we were saying, like whatever move Ernest Landorus carries will be very important. Like Sludge Bomb, for example, into the Gardevoir, that could be huge, because Rock Slide from Ben Kyriakou's Landorus is not going to help, but it is that Hidden Power Ice, and it is not enough to get the KO though. So Ben will have yet another turn to go for another Rock Slide. More spread moves coming out from this Gardevoir with Hyper Voice, though Landorus can take that attack. It might be in KO range from Rock Slide though, and yeah, this Landorus taking the Hidden Power Ice, maybe with a little bit of a investment into HP and special defense, really helping out Ben.
Yep, and now it comes down to Rock Slide being enough for that Landorus. I mean, Hidden Power Ice won't be enough for Gardevoir, of course. We don't know if this Landorus is choice locked into that Hidden Power Ice now. But we see Hidden Power outspeeding the Landorus this time.
So maybe it was a speed tie, yeah.
And I don't think that Hyper Voice will be enough, so he has to go for that.
Yeah, Ernest looks really happy about that happening, of course. Hyper Voice coming out will knock out Landorus, but Snorlax makes it through the turn, and Frustration will be able to pick up the KO on this Gardevoir. So Ernest is winning this first game here. Wow, that was... I mean, it cannot really get any closer than that. Hidden Power Ice, winning the speed tie there between the two, presumably like Choice Scarf Landorus, and getting the KO that way. So yeah, well done to Ernest, of course. But Ben Kyriakou, he must feel a little bit upset, because like he was so close to taking that game home. Ernest, like with his Snorlax, it looked like, oh, Snorlax is so difficult to take out. But then he got a little bit, maybe he overextended a little bit, got a little over-eager, went for the Belly Drum, even though he did not have the berry to back it up. Like he had the berry, but it had to activate that turn, so he was at like 45% after the Belly Drum. And Yeah, in the end, he wasn't punished for that, but maybe for the next game, he might want to try and play this a little bit more cautiously, because the Snorlax, based on like with the Pokemon that Ben selected, looked like Snorlax was like a really strong pick there. So yeah, reducing 50% of your health, even though of course you get all the attack boosts. But sometimes all the attack boosts in the world aren't worth it if you lose your Pokemon in the return. It yeah, went fine for him this game, but for the next game I might want to I would prefer him maybe either not go for the Belly Drum as offensively, or bring the Mimikyu to support it a little bit better.
Yeah, I would like to see Ben going for that knockoff early in the game to prevent all those recycle and then the Belly Drum going off on that Snorlax. So that might be important here. Of course, it came down to Naganalo, because if you have that special tag and you don't know if your opponent knows about that, then you always have to play around it. So that's a little bit the downside of special tags.
Wow, I was going to say the exactly same thing. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, especially in top 4, because you are so far in the tournament, you have played before on stream. So many people are around here, so sometimes these information will get to your opponent somehow.
Yes.
So you never know. Does he know? Because Ernest, he looked a little bit surprised when he saw that. Yeah, you told the viewers how you kept his composure there. But now, both players know what is going on.
Exactly. Like in this one specific turn, what Ernest made, the play Ernest made a lot of sense. But only if he knew about the Fire Z, then he could have just lost the game on the spot. Inferno Overdrive, KO the Metagross, knock off the berry on the Snorlax, and that probably would have been game over. But no, Ben was probably a little bit too afraid to go for that play, because it was just there on a silver plate for him. Yep. He was like, well, does my opponent actually not know about Inferno Overdrive? We're in the semifinals, you know, You should know about this, you know. So that's a little bit of the downside of those moves that can surprise your opponent, because sometimes the plays change up significantly if whether you know about them or not. And so yeah, that is also something that players have to consider over a over the course of a tournament like this. Whether in the end you want to have the most consistent teams where you can kind of expect what your opponent expects, or in a situation like this where you don't know what your opponent really thinks about them, you know?
Yep. And now we see the Mimikyu Snorlax coming off. So that is one point. I was talking about that in the first game. We didn't see it actually happening. But this time Mimikyu and Snorlax on the field. So on the other side of Landers and Naganalo, I'm excited to see a combination of Rock Slide, Breaking Disguise, and then the Inferno Overdrive would be enough to take the knockout on the Mimikyu. When we featured Ernest, he had that Ghostium
Z. Yeah, he was a very fast Mimikyu to support the Snorlax with the Z Destiny Bond. Decides not to go for that this time around, though. Instead, is going to switch into his Landorus. Maybe he has a little bit... maybe he has now figured out that, oh, my Landorus with the Choice Scarf can outspeed and KO this Naganadel, and wants to play like that. So there is the U-turn coming out from Ben. So a nice move to just break the disguise and reset your board position. Maybe bring in the Incineroar right now, for example, to drop on Intimidate, and then also threaten knockoff in the following turn. There it is. So then also now it depends on what the Naganadel went for. It might, as you were suggesting, go for that Inferno Overdrive. I have no idea how much damage that would have done to the Mimikyu, though.
Yeah, but we have to see. Oh, he goes for a Substitute, okay. I don't know if I agree too much about that, because if Belly Drum comes off here, and there will be a Trick Room as well, then you have your Substitute, but both these... Naganalo is not threatening down Snorlax too much here. Well,
I mean, there's always the potential to get a Poison with Sludge Bomb. I don't know how much damage exactly it does, but Snorlax, if Mimikyu just stayed in and set up Trick Room, Snorlax would hit first, so it can't really knock out the Substitute, you know. And then by bringing in the Incineroar, you basically buy another turn where you can fake out the Snorlax and maybe Sludge Bomb if you want to. So I think Ben probably had a little bit of had an idea of what he was doing there. And now with the Substitute, it means that the Incineroar also supporting that now the Choice Scarf Earth Power play really doesn't work anymore at all. So Ben now with the Incineroar, of course there's no berry anymore on Snorlax, and he really has to focus down on the Snorlax. We have already seen Protect on Ernest Snorlax, so it can be difficult for Ben to really make progress there, but at the same time, his Naganadel is now kind of safe behind the Substitute.
Yep, and of course you don't want to fire in super strong attack into the Landorus slot, because that Mimikyu just can back in and just absorb that Inferno Overdrive, for example, with his Disguise ability. But Naganadel instead goes for the safe option here, protects. The sad story here is that Incineroar won't be able to just knock off any berry, because there is none. We see knockoff into that Mimikyu, Breaking Disguise, but thanks to that Ghostium Z, won't knock off any item here. And we
What
have
does Snorlax do? Frustration into the Protect. Okay, so he could have gone ahead and just knocked out this Incineroar straight away, but prioritized getting rid of the Substitute because, yeah, as we're saying, this Naganadel, it's kind of a little bit like a Dark Horse there. I don't know how much damage it'll do with the Inferno Overdrive to the Mimikyu, but doubling up on it certainly would be enough. At the same time, though, Snorlax, on the other hand, should be fine taking that attack.
Yep, but you would fear losing your Incineroar if you double up in that Mimikyu. Don't get the KO with that Inferno Overdrive. That is just what we see right now. So let's see where this is going into.
Yeah.
It might also go into that Snorlax, and then in combination with Flare Blitz might deal a lot of damage. Probably not picking up the KO, but if that Snorlax is not going for...
Yeah, I think this should be into the Mimikyu, but let's see what Ben decided here. Inferno Overdrive, the Naganadel, not a move you will see very, very often, but here on Ben's team, it seems to make a lot of sense. Goes into the Mimikyu, how much damage does it do?
Enough.
Mimikyu will take this, and Incineroar is actually outspeeding it, indicating that this Mimikyu probably went for a Trick Room right away. Maybe a little bit greedy, and as you were saying, with a Destiny Bond, could have knocked out that Incineroar and like could have taken it right with it. So instead now we're seeing the frustration. It will do the job, and Incineroar will go down, but yeah, if Mimikyu outsped the Incineroar, went for Destiny Bond, then yeah, that Substitute could have been gone now.
Yep, what I don't like is that Snorlax is still at full HP here. He can recycle whenever he wants because now Incineroar is down. There's no knockoff anymore. It has a potential knockoff on the Landorus. But of course, he would have to show that before Snorlax would go off and then recycle there.
Yeah, and there is his own Incineroar making an appearance now. So whatever comes in here for Ben will get intimidated. It doesn't really matter too much, but actually can like just get intimidated back. And Gardevoir does trace Intimidate. So Ernest has the option to go for a Fake Out here, but at the same time Ben can also just protect his Gardevoir for the time being. But once again, the Snorlax looks so beefy and so difficult for Ben to whittle down. The Naganadel did not get the KO on the Mimikyu, so no Beast Boost there. And is still, I mean, just looking at Sludge Bomb for damage against that Snorlax.
Yep, but it's really difficult to overcome that Snorlax at this page. We don't, like, we have Landorus in the back. I think Breloom might have helped here a little bit. He could have put it asleep with Spore, and then it has Bullet Seed and maybe a Fighting type move which helps him against that Snorlax. But at this stage, Snorlax full HP and boosted his attack stat. He needs that Sludge Bomb to poison and then help him out over the outcome of the game, but doesn't look very good for him.
Just another Recycle there, playing it kind of safe, knowing that, okay, Gardevoir's probably going to protect, but at the same time I don't want to risk just taking a Hyper Voice. But now with that Snorlax just going for another Recycle, and once again, two special attackers here for Ben, meaning that yeah, he just can't really hit the Snorlax on its weaker physical defense. Instead has to hit it on the very strong special side. And he doesn't have any like super effective moves either at the moment. And Snorlax just can recycle. And now there's kind of a free frustration going into the Gardevoir slot for Ernest. Ben probably also realizes that, switches into his Landorus. Intimidate won't really save his Landorus at this point though.
Yep. Frustration is just too strong here, especially after, like, even after those two drops. It is too strong to pick up the KO on that Landorus. So
and this time he gets the poison.
Yep, there's a poison. Barrier will activate. Will bring him back to almost 90% there. Snorlax still in a great spot.
Yep.
And since this is normal poison and not like toxic poison, it will just deal like constantly damage instead of increasing damage.
Ooh, the knockoff not breaking the substitute. That could potentially be huge. Yeah, he could have gone for, I mean, yeah, with a Z move being confirmed on the Naganadel, yeah, he already knew that this wasn't going to do a whole lot of damage. Still tried it though, didn't break the substitute, so like Incineroar's move kind of like wasted this time. Could have also taken the opportunity to switch out, to reset Fake Out for later on, but at the same time, I don't think Fake Out is really what will help him, and Intimidate also doesn't do anything here. So yet another Intimidate though now, dropping onto that Incineroar, yeah, from the Gardevoir earlier, so that's why the knockoff was so weak. This Snorlax though is still, as we were saying, the key member here, and now Ben probably still has a chance to take the knockout on the Snorlax, but it has to be like very soon. By the way, when I said earlier that he doesn't have any ways of attacking Snorlax on the defensive side, yeah, the Gardevoir might have Psyshock, so this might be able to do a little bit more damage than we would expect this Gardevoir to do to the Snorlax. However, it's hard seeing that from this point on, a combination of like Psyshock and Sludge Bomb, I don't think it would be enough to knock out the Snorlax. Maybe with another round of Poison though, so but at the same time, though, even if you say like go for the double protect this turn, the Snorlax could just go for another recycle, and then that plan is just really gone. So this might be the one opportunity Ben has to still somehow steal this game, and yeah, here we go.
Yep. So let's see if there's a double protect or the double. Yeah, there's actually a double target into that Snorlax spot. Sludge coming off first, no critical hit, and now Psycho. Oh, it's actually Hyper Voice. That won't be enough. The question is Snorlax going for an attack here? And after all those lowered attack sets after that belly drum, is that enough to pick up the KO? Because it's like at +3 only anymore.
Yeah, it could be recycled. It is frustration, so this will be a KO, and this will put Ernest one step further to advancing into the finals. It is only Naga left here for Ernest, and you can see it at his face. He's so happy. The Snorlax made it through the turn on top of things, and now it's still just the Naga that served Ben so well in his top 8 match, but it's hard to imagine that it will be able to power through 3 Pokemon of Ernest.
Especially with that Choice Scarf Landorus in the back. Mimikyu went down earlier, but like that Landorus seals up the game for Ernest. So he is really relieved here, joining Giuseppe in the finals.
Yeah, 2 names that we haven't heard all too much of, but now one of them is going to be a regional champion, of course. Ben Kyriakou still will try to do everything that he can to prevent that from happening. Is going to launch a Sludge Bomb into that Snorlax, which will get the KO and activate the Beast Boost on the Naganadel. But yeah, both of them, they kind of know it. This Landorus switching in there with a Choice Scarf will be able to outspeed and get the knockout on the Naganadel. And yeah, Ernest Azanza, wow, what a display.
Yep.
Really demolishing Ben in 2 games. Yeah, showcasing his strength. Even with that belly drum in the first game, didn't come back to bite him. In the second game, yeah, he changed things up a little bit, brought the Mimikyu, and it looks like Ben's Naganadel, while it was such a strong pick in the top 8 game here, there aren't any, like, there's only the Tapu Koko that it can hit for super effective damage. And nice adaptation, by the way, also from Ernest to not bring the Mega Metagross again after seeing the Inferno Overdrive on that Naganadel. Ben did have an opportunity to take the first game, I believe. I think if he went for the right combination of attacks, like with the Z-move and the knockoff. But yeah, Ernest keeping cool through that, and then Ben, yeah, whiffing the opportunity. And so now Ernest Azanza with the Landorus, Choice Scarf, Earth Power gets the KO on Naganadel, taking the set 2-0, and he will be the one advancing to the finals against Pepe.
Yep, joining Giuseppe in the finals there. And I want to point out once again how this time we have 2, like, looking at the top cut bracket, looking at which like the number of established players being there, but then Ernest and Giuseppe making to finals. So that is really great. Like, I don't like calling it upsets in VGC, but like that is really great success for both these players, and we will have like a first-time regional champion whoever wins out of these 2.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 2 pride nations of VGC, Italy and Spain, will now clash in the finals. And you were saying we had Michele Gavelli, we had Ben Kyriakou, we had Arsha Madi, Matthias Sukudowski, but none of these names made it into the finals. Instead, it is going to be 2 names that really can use this tournament to now establish themselves in the scene, get a lot of championship points to help them on the leaderboard, and also, of course, get some nice prize money.
Yeah, that prize money could then help them to travel all the way to the World Championships in August in Nashville this summer. So that is really excited. Not only qualifying, but qualifying for such a high finish and earning some prize money, and then help traveling to the World Championships.
Exactly. So I think we will be back with a winner's interview in a little bit of time, so maybe like a 5-minute break, and then we will be back with the finals, of course. So don't go anywhere, tell your friends, and we will be right back. And welcome back. As promised, I am here with Ernest, and wow, what a set. First of all, I gotta ask you, how are you feeling about making it to your first regionals finals?
I don't believe it. It's true that I have a better matchup, I think, and I won the battle without any problem, I think.
Yes. So, did it affect you in any way that you were going up against a player like Ben Kyriakou, who has have had a lot of success in his previous format, or are you just thinking like, oh, he's just a player like anyone else?
I think that I just to play like anyone else, because I think that I have a good team, and when I know that I had a better matchup, so I only play without center of the team of my opponent, and that's all. Yeah,
and that definitely worked out for you. So there was one specific moment that I wanted to ask you about in the first game. Did you know about his Naganadel Z move, that he had the Inferno Overdrive?
Yes, yes, I know all the set of the Nagandel, but I don't know the set of the Landorus.
Oh, okay.
I don't know that he had a choice scarf.
Yes.
And when I see that the play that decided the first game was a speed tie with high deco power, so I don't believe it.
Yes, because at first his Landers moved first, and
Yes,
then he survived your hidden power ice. Did you think that, oh no, like I'm going to lose this game?
Yes, yes, I think that I will lose.
Yes, but then how did you feel when you realized that, oh, it's a speed tie and your Landers went first the second
When
time?
I see Landorus use hidden power, I don't believe it.
Yeah, that was very nice. So and then there was this one position where you had your Mega Metagross on the field against his Naganadel, but you didn't protect it and you didn't switch it out. Were you confident that he wasn't going for the Inferno Overdrive?
I know that he could use that move, but I don't know. I didn't have any switch that resist this move, and I think that the best way was sacrifice. Well,
okay, sacrifice. Yes.
Sacrifice my Metagross.
Okay, yeah, and then of course things went even better because he did not even go for it. He was probably like waiting for the right moment, maybe thinking that you might protect. So yeah, that worked out perfectly for you. So how many championship points do you have now? Do you know?
I think that with that top 2, I get the invitate.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice. So congratulations. So over 300 championship points. And are you going to participate at the Pokemon World Championships?
Yes.
Yes. And now, of course, you also are getting some nice prize money that goes towards funding that trip. But there's still one last battle for you.
Yes.
You're going up against Pepe, who is also like his like very first like very big success at a tournament. So yeah, like before now you played against some of the more established players that are known, like Ben Kyriakou. But now like one of you is going to be a first-time regional champion. What is going through your mind right now, like before this match?
First of all, my opponent was the only who beats me at the Swiss rounds.
Oh, okay.
But I know all his team and all the tricks.
Yes.
So I try to get them.
Okay, so now you want to get revenge for losing in Swiss.
Yes.
So I also would like to give you the opportunity. Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to, or anyone you practiced with, to say thank you to, some of your friends?
Well, I want to shout out all people who support me from Spain.
Yes.
And that's all.
Okay, and maybe you can do that again after the finals and after you win. Only one more set for you before you could be a regional champion. So thank you very much for making it out here for this interview, and congratulations already. Get ready to prepare for your last battle. And yeah, we'll have a very short break, and then we'll be here with the finals of the Stuttgart Regional Championships.